A growing number of Americans happen to be illiterate, and that's a problem. And we should be asking ourselves, why does it seem as though our power structure has an interest in illiterate Americans? But it is a growing population, and it appears that AI is increasingly concealing this growing disaster in America. And it could be having a terrible impact on the economy, which I think illiteracy probably has a big impact on the economy, just that alone, right? So maybe we should do something about that. Nonetheless, Axios reports that roughly, I can't believe this, 130 million US adults read below a 6th grade level. 130 million US adults read below a 6th grade level. In addition to that, 43 million can't do basic math. I might be one of those people, whatever. Unless I'm like looking for a deal, that's when my math kicks in and I'm an expert. But nonetheless, so in all seriousness, 43 million Americans can't do basic math or read above a third grade level, which becomes a problem when over 90% of jobs require some degree of computer literacy. And you need to know how to at least read if you're gonna use the computer, if you're gonna know how to learn how to use a computer. And in turn, this requires a basic threshold of reading and mathematical comprehension. Okay, so you get the point. We have a really big problem here in the US. And I know that for people who have difficulty reading, they feel shame about it. They don't want to be honest about it. They don't talk about it. And so AI is now providing a tool in which they can attempt to conceal the fact that they're having a hard time reading. So low literacy at work is showing up in emails, safety instructions, that's not good, training materials, math-heavy trades, health benefit forms, and computer-based tasks. So typically workers hid their literacy gaps by relying on coworkers, family, or simply by avoiding certain tasks. But now AI tools are helping them complete tasks without even fully understanding them. And that's a really big issue. And that represents a number of concerns, as experts warn that this can mask deeper skill gaps until workers are asked to make judgments, solve problems, or evaluate AI-generated answers. Why does our government want us to be illiterate? Why hasn't there been an effort to ensure that we are the most educated population, that we are the most skill-based population? Honestly, for all the propaganda we hear about Iran is very different from Afghanistan when it comes to women's education, okay? Those women are super educated in Iran. I don't think most Americans realize that. They put an emphasis on education. Here in America, we don't do that. There had been an emphasis on 4-year colleges and universities and those types of institutions. But when it comes to grade school, when it comes to high school and all of that, it just seems like all we have heard, like you have the two sides, Democrats, then you have Republicans. Democrats, I'm sorry, but don't really seem to want to improve some of the downfalls that we've seen in public education. And I care about public education. I want to make it better. I want to maintain it. I want to save it, because I don't want to move to a system where people don't have an option other than private school. The reason why people want to take their kids out of public school and try to put them in private school is because they're not happy with the performance of public schools. Keeping it real. We should not have 130 million US adults who read below a 6th grade level, but we do. And then you have Republicans who have fought aggressively to dismantle the public education system, which obviously is gonna lead to a subpar education in public schools. And then they're like, oh, we've got a solution. We're gonna do these vouchers and we're gonna do school choice. And that's meant to further dismantle public education. But what happens when public education is gone and working class families can't afford to put their kids in private schools and the vouchers are gone? What happens then? So yeah, this is an AI story, but I think there's a deeper issue, right? Because the AI is being used to mask a huge failure in our system here in the United States. I don't begrudge American adults who feel shame. They shouldn't, but they feel shame about their literacy and are trying to get through the day by concealing what the reality is. I don't begrudge that. I do, though, judge the fact that we're supposed to be one of the wealthiest countries in the world, endless resources, endless power up until now. And instead of making American citizens the best, the brightest, the strongest, it just feels like our government is consistently working against us, doesn't it? And yeah, you might argue, well, it's your responsibility to learn how to read. I hear you on that. And just because you're an adult who has a reading level below 6th grade doesn't mean that you can't improve. But I don't know, man. This story really devastates me because of the sheer numbers. And then there was this big scandal where there was this movement away from teaching people how to read through phonics. And guess what? That was a disaster. So can we move back to phonics because that worked? The net effect of AI on the workplace is probably going to be increased demand and need for workers with higher levels of basic skills, not lower, according to Stephen Reeder, who's a professor emeritus of applied linguistics at Portland State University. This country has failed its people in so many different ways. And I don't see an end in sight unless we do something about it.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.